Hi, Cougs. Welcome back to another CoogsTalk. I'm Lynden, your host here, and I'm here with
Josue.
And Daniel.
And this week, we're going to talk about the White House Card for UFC. First off, I have a question for y'all. Who's your favorite UFC fighter?
My favorite UFC fighter, we from Houston. I got to give it to my boy Derek Lewis. To me, one of the most entertaining fighters. Not the most skilled, but he always puts on a show no matter what happens. He's either going to get sparked or he's going to spark somebody, you know what I mean? So I really would like to give it to Derek Lewis because he always puts on a show,
Yep.
So my personal favorite all time, Charles Oliveira. I'm just a Charles Oliveira fan. To your Houston point, my favorite Houston fighter is Josh Van, who's going to be fighting at UFC 323. So right now, those are probably my two favorite. Shout out Josh Van and shout out Charles Oliveira.
Y'all ready for the first little bracket for the White House Card? Y'all ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. The first card of the early prelims. Y'all ready? Who wants to go first?
You go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
I guess before we go, I want to explain my criteria for this. So my criteria, one, I try to go off UFC 300 kind of as my blueprint. UFC 300 was the greatest UFC card ever assembled, and Dana White he's already said that he wants the White House card to be the greatest thing they've already done. So I know for a fact that this card that I assembled needed to be better than UFC 300. And what I kind of used as a benchmark was UFC 300 had 12 championship fighters, or 12 former champs / active champs. So I wanted to surpass that number. So I went ahead and I made my first fight, Rose Namajunas versus Alexa Grasso. Kicks it off with a banger, two former champs, similar to 300 because 300 kind of kicked off with Figueiredo and Garbrandt, two former champs. So I kind of wanted to continue that theme of former champs starting off the card. What about you, Joseph?
So my first fight, I wanted to put this out there. I'm starting off with a bang, all right?
Okay.
One of my favorite fighters as well, Kevin Holland, as you can tell. For me, with UFC fighters, one of my favorite things is entertainers, right? So I'm putting that rematch. My first one's Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. I know the first fight was kind of boring. Technically, they weren't a matchup. MVP really dominated Kevin Holland, but to me, like towards the end of the fight, I think he found a little bit of something. He started to pick it up. So I think to start off the night, even though it's an early prelim, I think it's a great way to get people in. Two really big trash talkers going at it again.
Yeah, that's a great US versus UK matchup right there.
Exactly.
So it would make sense for a White House card. I actually also have Kevin Holland.
Really?
He's 3 fights from now, but I gave him a different opponent. I went a different route.
Gotcha.
But that's sure to be an interesting fight, though. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see that. If that
Yeah,
works out,
man.
yeah.
I just need Kevin Holland to actually pick up the pace this time. You know what I mean? Like last time, MVP, he used his kickboxing skills, kept him at a distance. I don't understand why every fight Kevin Holland goes into, he doesn't remember he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. But as we just saw with MVP, when someone is really good at what they're doing and really good at wrestling, you can take him down. He's possible to beat. So I want to see that matchup again. I think it's a great one.
The thing about MVP though is that MVP's like a point fighter. He's a lot like Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
So he's so quick too. So I think that's why a guy like Kevin Holland might not be able to get to him. Because Kevin Holland, like you said, he's well-rounded. He can box, he can submit you, he can wrestle you. But it's just, can you get to a guy like MVP, a guy that's that fast? That would be that. I would like to see that fight again. Honestly, I think that would be a good fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Got another early prelim for us, Daniel?
Yeah, I guess I'll go right into the next one. So, favorite fighter, Derek Lewis. I'll say Derek Lewis, he's not, he's a superstar in his own right, but he's not, like in the upper echelon of fighters anymore. But kind of going back to my criteria, I wanted to pick fighters that I could see being on this card, primarily Americans, because it will be an American celebratory event. So I wanted to make sure that I had an American, at least one American on every fight. So I went with Derek Lewis, and this is kind of another US versus UK matchup. I think it's a guy he can personally beat. It's one of Tom Aspinall's training partners. I went with Mick Parkin. I believe he's number 15 in the heavyweight division. And these are two guys that, they both have light out power. So I think this will be an entertaining fight. I could see it going maybe 1 round, maybe 2 rounds. I don't see this one going the distance. So I think it's going to be, a pretty entertaining fight to kind of kick off the early prelims right after Rose Namajunas and Alexa Grasso.
Got you. So for me, I actually also had Derek Lewis. Mine's a little bit different though. So you see, I told you before this that I'm gonna have a couple surprises. So Tai Tuivasa, that fight hurt me to my soul, right? That fight, I need to see Derek Lewis get his lick back in. So the shoey afterwards, while Derek Lewis is still fighting, because to me he wasn't even knocked out. There was a lot of punches being thrown, but he was fine. He was standing back up. So I need to see that rematch on that card. Give Derek Lewis his redemption. He's not fighting in Texas, so he should win. I want to see that fight happen one more time.
Honestly, that's kind of a layup. I think Tuivasa's on a 5-fight skid. I think Derek Lewis could definitely win that one. I'd like to see that. That would be fun. Yeah. And if Tuivasa can somehow win that too, that'd be now he's on the biggest stage in the world. Back in the win column. So that's a good fight for both of them, I think. Both also ranked in the heavyweight division.
All right, for y'all's next fight.
Actually, I can go first. So,
okay.
I don't know if you've noticed, I'm on a little bit of a theme here. I love Houston fighters. So, another one of my fights in the early prelims, I got Joshua Van versus Amir Albazi, which is, Joshua Van, ultimately, everybody wants to see him in that championship fight, right? But I think he needs to take one more, at least an experienced wrestler or something that has a lot of experience in the fight. That's why I chose Amir. But personally, I just want to see Joshua Van take that next level. His striking, to me, is on another level. He's up there with the top of the UFC. He doesn't have, the ground game. But to me, what really stands out as well is his fighter IQ. I don't know if you watched in his last fight, but he in that last round, right before he almost got that knockout. He was so close.
Fight of the year?
Yeah, Roy Val. He almost got that knockout. But you saw right before that he did a quick little leg kick and then followed up with a couple combos. I think he's still learning, and he's really adaptive. To me, I see future goal potential with him. I know that's crazy, man. Because but he's only 23. He just started fighting like 3-4 years ago. Yep. I see a really bright future, and I think this is one fight that he can really make a stamp on a bigger card like this.
Yeah, he's a guy with a street fighting background. That's kind of he never really trained. He just fought people on the street. Yeah. That's kind of what got him into MMA. That's a really winnable fight for him. I guess that match is kind of predetermined on the UFC 323 matchup if he wins the belt or not. If not, that's certainly a good bounce back fight for him. I could definitely see him winning that because Amir Albazi's last opponent was Brandon Moreno, and Moreno beat him, and Moreno's another guy with a boxing background. Yeah. So, if he lost to Moreno, I can't see him beating Joshua Van. So I'd love to see just a free Josh Van win.
Yeah, so I like to I got to make a statement. I made this fight because I don't think Josh Van's ready for the championship. I think that fight's going to be a little too much for him.
I think it's too soon. He's still too young.
I think it's too soon. I think, unfortunately, I actually have him losing that fight. So what I'm predicting this off of, he needs to bounce back. He's probably going to take a couple months to get back in the gym. He wants to be on a big card. Throw him on that card because he has star power. Every fight you see, he's always going viral on Twitter. So I want to see that happen and be a good bounce back and maybe for a second fight, Definitely. For that championship.
And again, that's another fight of the year contender. That's going to be a banger fight at the White House. Yeah. Obviously, I'm a huge Josh Van fan. I hope you win, man. But Pantoja, if not the flyweight GOAT, he's the second greatest flyweight of all time. So he's got quite the challenge ahead of him. But I'll be rooting for him either way. For me, for the next fight, I wanted to go with the former double champion, Henry Cejudo. What kind of led me to this is gold Olympian representing America. Seems very fit that he would be on this card. I know they just gave him a fight. I think it was 323 against Peyton Talbot, an up-and-comer, a prospect. So I went ahead and I'm giving him another prospect. And the reason I'm doing this is because in 300, they tried to build up prospects. That's one thing Dana likes to do with big cards. He always does this for International Fight Week. He puts up-and-coming prospects on there. So I'm putting Henry Cejudo, one of the greatest American Olympian wrestlers of all time, versus Malcolm Wellmaker, another American fighter. I think that's going to be an absolute great fight. Malcolm Wellmaker, I think he's 3 for 3 in his UFC fights. All of them have ended by gruesome KO. I think that is going to be a great fight. I hope they make it happen. I guess it kind of depends what happens with Cejudo versus Talbot. But if Cejudo can get through Talbot, or if he doesn't, I think either way that'll be a good fight to make.
Yeah, that's a really good fight. But you're trying to set Cejudo up, man. He's older. You get him someone young and dangerous like that. He can be sparked, dog.
Cejudo's a wrestler, man. If you can get to him, but Cejudo also likes to. He likes to.
Yeah, he likes to mix it up. That's why I'm a little worried for him because you getting up there in age, man. You can't do it with the young boys like that as much, So.
Yeah, Wellmaker. If you guys aren't familiar with Wellmaker, I implore you guys go watch his 3 fights. That guy is
Insane.
lights out. He's an alum from Dana White Contender Series. Super young and exciting prospect. I can't wait to see where that guy goes.
And on that note, he is super exciting. I think this will be a perfect fight for him to take that next step. Honestly, feel bad for Cejudo, but I think he's one of those gateway fights to let someone open into stardom. And I actually I love that matchup.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. So for me, I have Cejudo on my card, but we'll talk about him a little later. Similar to what you're saying, I just have a little bit different style. I actually put Bo Nickel. I think he's a very, very good, solid young U.S. prospect. Even though he's coming off of a couple of losses, he hasn't lived up to the hype yet, right? You know, because everybody's like, okay, this is gonna be your next GOAT. He's gonna be this greatest wrestler of all time, because he was an NCAA wrestler. So all I want to go ahead and see him, get started back, start that establishment of being like, the next big thing again at middleweight. And I have him fighting against Andre Muniz.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be another, unfortunately, sleeper fight for some people, but I think that's a really good, sound technical matchup for a lot of true UFC fans who like to see people, truly fight with technique and stuff like that. And that's something I would be interested to see. Wrestling versus BJJ again, what's the better style, So yeah.
So for me, Bo Nickel is one of those names that came to my mind because obviously, he's a guy that Dana White loves to push.
Yep.
I could definitely see him being on this card, but this was my dream card, and my dream card does not have Bo Nickel on it. So I did not go with Bo Nickel. I did go with another Dana White guy that Dana White does push a lot, another Contender Series alum. I went with Joe Pyfer, a guy with knockout power, and this is where we get another one of our former champs on the card. And I might be setting my guy up. I'm sorry, Bobby, but I got Joe Pyfer versus Robert Whittaker to kind of close off the early prelims.
That's a good fight, though.
Yeah, I love Robert Whittaker, one of my favorite fighters of all time. I do think this is a winnable fight. We saw it with Kelvin Gastelum when Kelvin Gastelum fought Joe Pyfer. You kind of have to get through that first spur, the first round.
Yeah.
But once you can get past that, Joe Pyfer does not have the best gas tank.
Yeah.
And I think if Whittaker, he's been in championship fights, he's made it to those championship rounds. I think if he can get past round one, I think that's a very, very winnable fight for Robert Whittaker. If not, it's another chance for Dana to kind of push another one of these American prospects and Joe Pyfer.
No, of course. And actually, I think I like that matchup a lot because to me, Whittaker, Robbie we still got it, man. Like, I think
so
he a couple of fights he was put in a really bad matchup. Like, obviously him versus
Hamzat, man.
Yeah, that was a rough one. He broke his jaw, and like that wasn't a fight for him. But this is like something he has the experience on him. He has the actual technique and big fight card. Because one other thing people don't really talk about is when those lights come on for real, not just at a UFC, fight night event. It's a little bit different, and some people fold, and I think that since Robert Whittaker's been there, Pyfer's on to come up, this could be something that he could use that experience on his side.
And we're talking about the biggest event of all time.
Yeah.
Robert Whittaker has fought in championship fights.
Yeah.
Pyfer, that's an Apex guy. He's he's fought in the Apex. A good amount of his fights have been in the Apex. We'll see if he can make it, or if he can last under those lights. And to your point, I think Robert Whittaker, I don't think he's washed. He just came off a very, very competitive 5-rounder against RDR. I thought he maybe did enough to win that. So he's still there. I mean, they fed him to Hamzat. That's literally feeding a guy to the wolves, no pun intended. Before that, he lost to the former champion, Dracus du Plessis. Like, this guy, time and time again, he's going through the best. And I think if Pyfer wants to be up there with the best, that's the guy he needs to go through. So I think that's a great fight to kind of end the early prelims.
I agree. I think that's a great matchup right there.
All right, to kick off the prelims, who do you got starting it off?
You want to take this one?
Joseph.
All right, I'll take this one. This is my surprise. First, another surprise for me, we got a very, very old vet, one of the biggest stars in UFC history, Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. I don't remember Ronda Rousey, she was going to that status that I personally think that Amanda Nunes is at right now. The GOAT of all GOATs, and before she started that downward spiral, the first thing she did was fight against Holly Holm, got a little bit too cocky, really leaked her fight plan and how she can get beat in this fight right before the fight, and then got beaten in that exact same way. So I know it's a little bit of a little different one. And Ronda Rousey been in the WWE, not really focused on UFC. But I think if she put like a 6 to 7 month fight camp together and got back against Holly Holm, I think it'll just be an interesting matchup. Will it be the most competitive? Probably not.
Yeah.
Would it be the most high technical? Probably not. They're both older in age and for the most part completely retired, So it's just something, I'm more about storylines right now,
It's funny you say that because actually I saw a clip the other day about Dana White talking about he still talks to Ronda Rousey fairly often. I think he said they talk like once every couple of months.
Yep.
And Ronda Rousey has actually started training again.
Oh, really?
So
Hey,
I'm not saying
heard it here first.
I'm not saying that's, you know, I do think if Ronda Rousey were to be on the card, I think that's a main event fight.
You think
Because
so?
she's got the history with Holly Holm. Holly Holm's now boxing. She's not signed to the UFC anymore. But that's as simple as just signing on the
That
dotted
paper,
line,
you know
right?
what I mean?
So
Yeah.
that's a banger fight. And I know people have been begging to see Ronda Rousey back in the octagon for a long, long time. And, you know, I think that matchup just makes sense. You know, two older vets haven't fought in a while. Holly Holm last fought Kayla Harrison actually at UFC
Yep.
300. So it's been some time for the both of them.
And I just think for me to piggyback off of you, I know Holly Holm's boxing. She's just had her last fight against Kenny Harrison, who honestly we see now she's a tank. You know, I mean, she's
Yeah.
unstoppable. So I think it's just a good matchup because it may seem like both of them were a lot more watched than they are. But especially Ronda Rousey, when she's focused and locked in, she's almost unstoppable, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason I have this on a prelim, I have this as one of the last prelim fights. It's my
Everything
actual main
ahead
card.
of it.
And my main card, there's a couple of surprises in there, but it's really gonna hit. Trust me on that. Go
So
ahead.
for my first prelim fight, one of your favorite fighters, also one of my favorite fighters, I went Kevin Holland versus Colby Covington. Now Colby Covington, that's a guy, you know, obviously he's got the connection to, you know, to Trump. You know, he's a big Trump fan. So I can't imagine him not being on that card. I think that's a guy that Trump would handpick to be on that card. You know, obviously. So Kevin Holland, I think Colby, I think he's washed. I think he's completely washed. I think Kevin Holland is the perfect matchup for him. I think Kevin Holland actually wins that fight. And I know Kevin Holland actually, he's gone, you know, after his wins, he's gone in his post fights. He's called out for Colby Covington. I know that's a fight he wants too. So I think that fight, it just makes all the sense in the world. You got two Americans fighting at the White House, and one of them being Colby Covington. I just think it makes all the sense in the world.
I agree. Personally, for me, Kevin Holland, I think he needs that one statement fight in his career. I don't think he has that yet. I think he has the potential to be like one of the top talked about of all time because he's always fighting, short notice fights. He never turns anything down. I think he needs to be rewarded somehow in some way with a big fight and let him get that opportunity to take that next reign. I want to see him go on a legitimate title run. I know he's coming off a loss. Me personally, I think he could have taken that, but I want to see him at least start building towards something before he retires. Because let's be honest, he might be the most entertaining fighter of all time.
Yeah.
Remember those fights during COVID? He's talking trash, talking to Dana outside of the ring, but you know, and he's beating on people because he has all the skill in the world. It's just, does he care enough?
Yeah.
Does he want to take that next step?
Side note, shout out Daniel Rodriguez. We share the same name. Shout out you for beating Kevin Holland. But yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. No, that fight that hurt, man. I ain't gonna
Yeah,
lie.
man. You know, it's kind of crazy that an athlete shares the same name as me, but I was actually rooting for Kevin Holland that fight, so that kind of hurt to see. Yeah, I know.
Kevin Holland's a goat, man.
Nah, Kevin Holland, he's just so entertaining, man. I love Kevin Holland. And that's another Dana guy.
Yep.
So, you know, that guy has stepped in constantly on short notice.
Yep.
That's a guy I could see Dana being like, hey, you've been my guy that I can rely on for so long. I'm going to put you on this card because this is a monumental card.
Yep.
So I could see that happening. That's another thing I kind of took into account when making this.
So for my second prelim fight, I got Raul Rosas versus Cejudo. Me personally, I think that's a great fight. We got Raul Rosas, and he's an up-and-coming phenom. You know, one of Dana's guys as well, like you were talking about. He made his debut at 17, kept going on momentum, had a lot of hype, and then, you know, had a tough fight where he got dominated. You know, he wasn't physically ready for it. It's been 2 years since then. He's now 21 years old, I believe.
About, yeah.
And then he's going to be fighting another experienced vet that has all the ring techniques, every experience he needs, and for big fights. I think Raul Rosas here makes a statement and takes that next step so he can start on his title run, you know?
And then that's almost like a passing of a guard, like one generation to the next. So I really like that fight. For my next fight, I'm going with another one of my personal favorite fighters. He's always in bangers, always putting on amazing performances. UFC 320, Khalil Roundtree Jr. versus Dominic Reyes. Two guys coming off a loss, two guys that were 1 and 2 fights away from being back in the title picture. I think this fight just makes so much sense at 205. I'd like to see it. That's fight of the night potential right there. Khalil Roundtree Jr. versus Dominic Reyes.
That's a good one right there. And, you know, I'm going to try to go on to my next fight because it's kind of similar to you. You talking about two people that I want to get back in that fight card. Leon Edwards, I have him on this card, versus Jorge Masvidal. I think that's a
okay.
banger right there. You know, Leon Edwards, you know, headshot dead. You know,
Headshot dead.
He's got a lot of that kickboxing technique. Jorge Masvidal, another kickboxing fighter. I think after a couple like more technical fights on my fight, we need another standing man. You know, we need people to start going at it. We need someone to go out, and I think this is the fight that it could happen.
So I'm gonna keep my next fight at 170. I'm gonna go with a title eliminator for the welterweight division. Sean Brady versus Ian Gary. Now both of them are currently matched up. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Ian Gary versus Bilal Muhammad. Because that division is so backed up, I can unfortunately see a scenario where the two do have to fight another opponent just to get that title shot.
Yeah.
So I think that makes all the sense. And it's kind of cool because foreshadowing Ian Gary, he's a clone. You know, people knock on him for being a clone of a certain fighter. And I think later on when you see who I have later on in the main card, it's kind of a cool story. You kind of have him on the same fight card, two people from the same country. And then obviously Sean Brady being the American. I think that's a great fight to put in the prelims.
Yeah, that's a great fight right there. And, you know, going on with my prelims, another fight I have a banger because we've seen it, but it's Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. We had the third round. It's been happening. Dana, make it happen. We need to see it. Okay?
Number two?
This is number 2. And I'll have this on a prelim. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
But it's, this is going to be a BMF fight. This is going to be the BMF championship. I'm going to have it right at the end of the prelims because we need a good start to get into the greatest card of all history. What a better warm-up than everybody tuning in and see Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje for the last time.
Okay. Yeah. It's so crazy you said Justin Gaethje because Justin Gaethje is my next fight.
Oh, really?
I got Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. And I think that's another BMF-esque fight. Two of the craziest fighters. They're always down to fight. They're always you saw at 300, Gaethje went out on his sword. He went out on his shield. So Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. And then to wrap up my prelims, because I know we're in a little bit of a hurry, sorry, I got Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen. That's my featured prelim.
Oh, Sugar Sean, that's your last prelim?
That's my last prelim,
You got anything to say about that?
Me, I mean, you know, Sean O'Malley just lost to Merab. Corey, we just watched that together, just lost to Merab. I just think it makes sense. Two guys that, you know, they're trying to get back into that title picture. I know Sean O'Malley, rumors are he's going to fight Song Yadong. I think if he gets through him, he's one more fight away from maybe that trilogy fight. And I think the timing makes sense.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening. I would like to backpedal a little bit on that Gaethje fight. I think the Gaethje fight only makes sense if he does not fight Topuria in January. And if Patty is fighting Topuria. Because if Gaethje fights Topuria, he's unfortunately probably going to get flatlined, and I don't think he'll be ready to fight in June.
And it's a retirement fight right there.
That's probably his retirement fight too.
And I agree with you, and I'm also hoping that I want to see Ilya versus Patty just because I think that's more interesting.
I think the story there is interesting,
So that's what I backed it off of as well. And going off for you, it's interesting you said Sean O'Malley because this is my last fight for the prelims is you're saying, oh, okay, hopefully he fights Song Yadong and is ready for Merab again. I don't think he deserves that chance. You had 2 chances. The first time, you looked better than the second time. I don't think that's his division anymore. So what I actually have is Sean O'Malley moving up and fighting his old rival and current best friend of Merab, Aljamain Sterling. I think that's a fight that needs to happen on this card as well. Sugar Sean, he's the probably most looked after fighter right now in the UFC, the most coveted fighter. He's everybody's darling, right? And I think he got Aljo got an unfair draw when he lost his championship to Sean O'Malley. He had
bad stoppage,
bad stoppage, a short notice when he's the champion.
Yep.
Dana, do your guy a favor and just let him run it back. If Sean O'Malley wins, he wins. He's better by definitively. But I feel like in my heart that he wasn't a better fighter that night. He just got the win because of puncher's chance.
But do we think O'Malley is worthy of fighting? Because Aljo's a guy in the title picture at 145.
I don't
Are
think
we just going to gift him a title shot?
I think Aljo is older, right? He needs his chance to keep moving forward. And I think Aljo at this point, he's going to have to make one more fight before he can make that title challenge.
All right, y'all ready for the main card?
Yeah, let's do it. Wrap it up.
The most looked after fights of the night. All right, who wants to start this off?
Can we start with this? Who do you have as your? I want to know who you have as your main event of the fight. Let's start.
You want to go
top down?
Let's do top down.
Top down?
Because I'm excited.
Okay.
I want to hear about it.
Okay. Main event. I think biggest card in UFC history. You have to have the biggest star currently on the roster. It's not Conor McGregor. Conor hasn't fought in years. Biggest star on the roster, Alex Pereira. Headline 300. came in, fought UFC International Fight Week, I think a year and a half ago. He saved the UFC countless times. You put Alex on there. He's got the belt now. And who else than the guy he wants, the American, the GOAT, John Jones. John Jones versus Alex Pereira is my main event for UFC White House.
That's interesting. Okay, because that's also my main event. I don't think there's a better.
It makes too much sense.
There's not a better fight in history. Let's be honest here. Maybe John Jones versus Tom Aspinall because it's a UK versus US rivalry.
Yeah.
But it's the biggest star of all time. He came in UFC, it took the world by storm. You know, he wasn't even a UFC fighter, and now when you see UFC, you think of him. And then John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time in my history. I don't think it was even a debate. But he's up there in age. He's coming off a few injuries. He's not really been taking fighting serious for a while. I think this is going to be a fight that Alex Pereira honestly has a chance. I think this is the only time anybody's really had a real chance against John Jones. And I think genuinely this will be the most interesting and most watched fight in history right here.
I 100% agree. One, this fight's going to be on linear television. I think it absolutely will be the most watched fight in TV history. But I have this fight happening at light heavyweight. I think it just makes sense because nobody has the belt outside of Tom. I don't think either of them are going to fight Tom. So I see John Jones going back down to light heavyweight. I think this is a retirement fight. It's a mega fight. It's a superstar fight like John has wanted. I think it's winnable for both people. And, you know, I'm ready to say if Alex can win that, Alex is my GOAT. Sorry.
I can't disagree with that. I got to say Alex is the GOAT too. Even though he's had a couple of losses, if you beat John Jones, you're the GOAT. Simple as that.
Simple as that?
Yep.
All right, straight into the co-main?
Yeah, my co-main event is, I told you I had a surprise on there. The people want to see it. I want to see it. Khabib's been out of fighting for too long. He needs to come back, and he's going to fight against Conor again. I want to see that fight when it happens. I don't think Conor has a chance, if I'm being honest. I don't think so, but I think it will be an entertaining fight. I think the storylines leading into that fight is going to be the most cinematic thing we've ever seen in the UFC history. Because Conor's always talking trash. Khabib's in his retirement arc, but he's still talking trash. So, I don't think there's going to be a better storyline. Khabib coming off of, 5 years now?
Something like that.
5 years off?
Yeah.
Versus Conor McGregor, who's also been off for a while, but has been still active in the fighting scene, putting that undefeated title on the line.
Yeah. So I also have Conor McGregor. It kind of hurts me not to put him as a headliner.
Yep.
But I can't put anything over John Jones versus Alex Pereira. So I got Conor McGregor, not versus Khabib, but versus Michael Chandler. They have the history of Michael Chandler being the American. They have the history at the Ultimate Fighter. I think this fight should have happened really years ago. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, that's my co-main.
For my third fight, I have I think the most competitive fight on the entire card, in my opinion. It's Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison. I think Amanda Nunes, greatest fighter of all time in the women's division, I have no doubt about it. I think Kayla Harrison has made a name for herself. She's pretty dominant. She's extremely strong, probably the most physically dominant woman in UFC history. And I think that gives her a chance because she has all the skills she needs. She's almost a complete fighter now with her development and fight plan. I think if anybody can give Amanda Nunes a run for her money, it would be Kayla Harrison.
Stole fight out of, I had it same placement. I'm not even going to add to it. You hit everything there. I just think that makes sense. Just makes sense. I think if I were to bet, I think that's the one fight that I am absolutely certain will be on that card. Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison. Just makes all the sense in the world. The greatest women's fighter of all time versus Kayla Harrison. Makes sense. My next fight, I have Khamzat Chimaev versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez for the middleweight championship. For me, my thought process behind that is I think you have to put your biggest stars on the active roster on this fight. And whether you like Khamzat or not, he is a top 5 star in the UFC right now, maybe even top 3. So I think it just makes sense to have him. Anthony Hernandez is a guy I think is worthy of fighting for the shot. I know he's supposed to fight RDR and then he dropped out, but I still think that guy is worthy of fighting for the belt right away. So I have him versus Khamzat Chimaev.
All right, so that's crazy you said Khamzat. We're thinking alike on this main card because I have Khamzat on it. He's a villain. Let's be honest here. He embraces that role, he loves that role, and he's going to keep doing that. So what I have him is the villain versus the UFC hero, in my opinion, my favorite fighter. One of my favorite fighters. He's not my favorite fighter, but loved by all UFC fans alike. I have Izzy on this fight versus Khamzat. I feel like this fight should have happened 3 years ago. Gonna be pretty rough for Izzy. It's gonna be very rough for Izzy. But I think if anybody has a chance, if they want to make that statement, Izzy needs that statement. He's been on a rough slide. He's talented enough. He can do it. So I got Izzy on this fight versus Khamzat next.
That's a good fight, but I don't see that going any differently than Hamza versus Duplessis. I was actually at that event. Awful main event to watch in person. For my next fight, I have Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira for the BMF belt. My favorite fighter versus Max Holloway. They both want this fight. I know they both said that neither of them want to wait for the White House to make this fight happen. I believe they want to fight sometime in March. But, the BMF, that was a fight that happened at 300. I just see that happening at the White House again. So I'm putting Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira for the BMF championship belt. And then I believe we should both have one final fight on the main card, right? Or you have two?
I actually have, I have two. So if you want me to go ahead and say mine next.
Yeah.
Another fight I have on here, it's on the main card because this is a surprise. He's been talking about it. I don't know if you've been watching because he's a streamer, right? It's a very big, another GOAT candidate in my opinion, right?
Okay.
This is going to be Mighty Mouse versus Pantoja for the championship.
Okay.
I know Dana
the
said,
two flyweight goats?
Yeah, I know Dana said he's never going to let him back in the UFC. I'm sorry, Dana. I love the UFC. I have issues with Dana. You need to swallow your pride for this one card, man. Save the card, please. I beg you. Give us the best of the best, because like you said, you need the stars on this card. This is gonna be talked about throughout history. So let some things happen that maybe wouldn't have let slide in the past. Maybe a one fight contract,
I think Pantoja wins that.
You think Pantoja wins that?
Yeah, I think Pantoja wins that. I think
Against
Demetrius
Mighty Mouse?
Johnson's just a little too old.
Too old, but hey,
Yeah,
man,
I mean he was losing in one, man.
that's true. But I mean, also his fighting style doesn't go away.
Yeah, we'll see. That's an entertaining fight. That's kind of a that's the two greatest flyweights of all time. So that will answer a lot of questions. I think Pantoja's, he's creeping up there to having a stake for the flyweight GOAT. But we'll see. So for my final fight, I do have Izzy on it.
Okay.
I have Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya too.
Ooh.
I think there's a lot of, maybe not bad blood, but I think both of them, they're kind of in a unique situation at middleweight. Izzy's not fighting for the belt. Strickland's not fighting for the belt. The true contenders are Anthony Hernandez. I know I'm missing a guy, but those are the true contenders. They're next in line. They're not going to fight for the belt next. I think this fight just makes so much sense. Two big names, Sean Strickland being the American, and I know Izzy wants his get back. I know Izzy has personally said that if he would get a fight, if he were to fight again, it would be against Sean Strickland. So I have Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya opening up the main card for UFC White House.
Okay, that's a great fight right there. And I'm going to stick to you of, having surprises and prioritizing stars and storylines over anything else. In my opinion, like I said, the reason I said that statement, Dana needs to swallow his pride because there's one fighter that I need to see on this card, right? And it has nothing to do with the U.S., but it has everything to do with the UFC and the pride for UFC. And so that's why I included it in this card, the greatest card of all time. Just to set it up, so it's going to be Tom Aspinall. So, probably the biggest, most dominant champion right now against one of the former most dominant champions in Francis Ngannou.
Okay.
Dana, make it happen. Make it happen, Dana. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah. I think everybody wants to see that fight.
Yeah.
Dana, make it happen, man. I know you don't like Ngannou, but make it happen, man.
Make it happen. But other than
That's our White House card. Yeah.
Which fight are y'all most interested to see out of everything y'all just listed? Which one?
I'm gonna let you go first.
Alex versus John Jones and Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira.
That's the one you're most excited. I know mine's a fantasy, so I'm always gonna say Khabib versus Conor. But I think, like you said, the most realistic fight, Alex versus John Jones. I think that would be the most entertaining one.
Definitely.
I'd love to see Khabib versus Conor too.
Yeah.
I love that fight build up. Even the aftermath of it, fighting on the tour bus.
Yeah.
All that. It was fun to see. It was great, entertaining. Yeah.
And
It would be a great fight.
yeah. It's all good.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the UFC White House Card. I'm your host here, Lynden.
With Joseph Mosbey.
And Daniel Rodriguez.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.